Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. My in-laws are currently furious with me for hurting my brother-in-law's feelings and reputation with my friend group. Recently, my single brother-in-law, Chris, 38 male, has been hinting at me to introduce him to women, and I've refused. Chris has been single for almost 3 years, and he's been having a hard time meeting women. He tried flirting with my friend, but she had been cold and non-receptive. This was my friend Grace, 35 female. Grace is not interested in him due to his inability to be faithful, and she wasn't physically attracted to him. He tried to flirtatiously engage with her during a small party my husband and I had last Saturday. My husband got a long-awaited promotion, so we had a little party. During the party, Grace had grown frustrated with his incessant flirting, and at some point told him in no uncertain terms that she found him physically ugly, and that his physical ugliness is only surpassed by the ugliness of his character. She told him this in private, and so no other guest had heard the scathing review of his personhood. Chris left the party. The following afternoon, while my husband and I were nursing a wicked hangover, my in-laws, to my surprise, called to scold me for having been aggressive and embarrassing Chris. After a few minutes of us shouting back and forth on the phone, I reminded my husband that handling his family was his job. So while my husband argued with his parents, I reviewed our security cameras. And honey, Grace verbally tore him apart. Grace reminded him that he cheated and divorced his late ex-wife, Lily, while she was battling cancer, and that he then got dumped by the mistress for being a cheater as he continued to cheat on her. Grace told him that he wasn't a man of any significant value, other than the few coins he had in the bank, and that there's no way in hell she'd entertain his delusions of sexual grandeur and beauty. She also said the only thing he had going for him was his over-bloated job title as an executive director to a third-rate company that will probably collapse in the next 5 years. As a parting gift, she told him to consider some cosmetic work to improve his haggard appearance, and perhaps to start praying for divine intervention to fix his rotten soul, since there's no way a psychotherapist could ever come close to fixing whatever is wrong with him. My in-laws and Chris feel that I shouldn't have told my friends what Chris did, because he's now perceived by my girlfriends as a terrible person. I told them he was unfortunately a terrible person, and people would have always found out what happened between him and the late, great Lily. I then discussed what happened with my colleague Natasha. She said I was cruel for having told my friend group about what happened between Chris and his ex-wife, because Chris had grown a lot in the past 2 years and didn't need to be known for the worst thing he's ever done. Natasha is dating Chris's friend, so she also knows him. FYI, I've only discussed Chris's treatment of Lily with my direct friend group, and that's only 6 people, and half of them already knew as they were also friends with Lily. So it's not like I'm screaming hear ye in the town square. Let's break this down. 1. Chris put himself in this position. He kept pushing Grace even after she clearly wasn't interested. If he didn't want his past actions to come back to haunt him, he should have treated people better in the first place. 2. Grace's reaction, while harsh, wasn't unprovoked. She tried to keep things private, but Chris didn't take the hint and kept bothering her. She's entitled to her feelings, and if Chris can't handle being confronted with the truth about his behavior, maybe it's time for some self-reflection. 3. OP's in-laws' anger is misplaced. OP didn't ruin Chris's reputation. He did that himself by cheating on his late wife, treating women poorly, and refusing to acknowledge or change his behavior. If his past actions make him look bad, that's on him, not OP. 4. Natasha saying Chris has grown doesn't mean the rest of the world is obligated to pretend his past doesn't exist. Growth is great, but it doesn't erase the hurt he caused or mean everyone has to overlook it. In my opinion, OP handled this situation well. OP didn't shout Chris's history from the rooftops. She shared it within her small private circle of friends, half of whom already knew. If Chris doesn't like the consequences of his actions, he should focus on becoming a better person rather than blaming others for his poor reputation. OP's in-laws, Chris, and even Natasha need to realize that actions have consequences, and those don't just disappear because it's been a few years. Grace deserves a medal for her honesty, and OP deserves a drink for putting up with this nonsense. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Not the a-hole. How can telling the truth be perceived as unfair? Chris did this to himself. It was his behavior that is the problem. Why should you expose your friends to a potentially horrific relationship? You know your brother-in-law is a cheater, but your in-laws want you to keep that from your friend so he can continue to take advantage without consequences? I think you did the right thing. Truth is an absolute defense to defamation. Not the a-hole. What kind of friend would you be if you didn't warn your friends about his cheating? If he's grown, then he can prove that. You do not owe him any setups, much less ones you've lied to by omission. I love Grace already. Chris isn't in a position to complain about gossip, since he went crying to his parents. But in the future, you should probably not invite him to functions where he might hit on your female guests and ruin their evening. Not the a-hole. I have a stable economics job, and I've recently bought my own house. I'm a mom of twins, but divorced my ex-husband. It was inevitable because we secretly eloped 2 months after meeting at 18. We are both on good terms, and he's a very great father. My current boyfriend was very nice to me and to my kids. I recently found out that he had a 4-year-old child. He didn't know about it either because the mother kept it a secret. I didn't get mad because a child is always a blessing, no matter the circumstances. Recently, she lost her job, and her parents kicked her out too. She then asked my boyfriend if she can move into the pool house. Without my permission, she moved all her stuff here. I found out 2 days after it happened from my son. Of course, I got mad, but I calmly spoke to him about it. He said it was because he didn't want his child to grow up homeless and apologized. We lived like this for another 2 weeks. Throughout this time, she started getting into our business. During dinner, she would basically plop herself on the table and order me around. She would comment on my food. She would call me a bad girlfriend because I work 8 hours a day and because I go on girls' trips. She says that I should stay home and be a good woman. My boyfriend's job pays less than half of mine, and he basically can't afford to pay my mortgage. I told her this, and she said I was snobby and that I should have bought a house considering his paycheck. Then she basically took over the second master bedroom. She moved all her stuff out of the pool house, and now we live together. I got angry and called her on her crap, which then resulted in my boyfriend calling me a B-word. The straw that broke the camel's back was when she started being rude to my children. She would control them, ground them, and talk to their teachers without my permission. I told her to stop, but she said that she was basically the second mother because I was never around. I kicked her out last week, and my boyfriend is not talking to me. Am I the a-hole for doing this? The moment the boyfriend moved people into your house without your consent, he should have been out on his butt. Everyone sucks here, especially you, for allowing yourself to be the doormat and staying with the boyfriend. Not the a-hole, but boyfriend needs to follow. And I'd be very suspicious that he never knew about the kid before. Sounds more like the two of them wanted to freeload off of you while they have a relationship together in your house. The obvious solution is child lives with boyfriend while bio-mom gets on her feet. And he went right to move in with me and let's be a family. Not the a-hole. The moment he made the decision unilaterally to have his ex and the kid move into your pool house, which is part of your home, without coming to you and saying he would like this to happen, and could it happen, that was the end of the whole thing. Your relationship with him, everything. You know why he didn't ask you if you would consider letting his ex and the kid move in, right? He didn't want to give you the choice and the opportunity to make your own decision about your own home. He wanted to make it for you so he would get what he wanted. That means he was manipulative, and he cared more about what he wanted than respecting your rights as the homeowner in your relationship. Every year for a long time, I, 51 male, would take my family to a log home in the Alps, and this would always be referred to as the aftermath of Christmas Day, as we would leave 2 days after Christmas Day. My daughter, 18 female, who turned 18 at the end of October, who we, her mother and 2 brothers, threw a surprise Halloween party for, and is heading to college next year. Though my daughter and her mother's, 46 female, relationship has been tumultuous for a while, and I put them into family counseling for this. They both argue, and it gets horrible. They don't get along. They don't trust each other. She has an issue with how her mother treats her brothers, and they always talk about how life would have been significantly better if the other wasn't here. Nonetheless, since therapy they have been trying, but it isn't that much better. My daughter has been institutionalized a multitude of times due to her relationship with her mother and responses to this. After her last argument in our home, I had to take her on a drive to calm her down, and on this drive we were talking, and she disclosed how happy she was to never speak to my wife, her mother, again when she leaves for college. She carried on trying to get under my skin as she always does when she gets upset. She started to go on about how she has never had a home, and when I asked her to clarify, she said, "I don't have a ducking home. I have a house that I can live in, but will never have a home because of all of you." I felt upset by this statement and felt like a failed father. I told her that she should not expect to come to our Christmas stay then. She said, "Good. I was hoping you'd say that." I told her that I wasn't kidding and told her that I would cancel her flight ticket in front of her. She proceeded to tell me to do it and that she never wanted to come anyways. I did it. She saw me do it. She proceeded to get out of my car after another 5 minutes and just walked in the opposite direction of our house. I asked her what she was doing, and she said that I shouldn't expect her back. It has been a whole day since, and she hasn't been back, though I know she is staying with her best friend and has attended school. I was perplexed by this encounter, as I couldn't tell who was the a-hole, even though she was upset by my actions. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. You have failed as a father. In your words, 1. My daughter has been institutionalized because of her relationship with her mom. 2. Your wife talks about how great it would be if she wasn't there. 3. They don't trust each other. 4. Your daughter is keen to go no contact with her mom. You took her on a drive to calm down after a fight, but when she wasn't venting to you, your response was to 1. Ignore her frustrations. 2. Center her concerns, venting on yourself and your ego. She said she doesn't have a home, and your response was to go nuclear? She hurt you, so you're hurting her? 3. You exclude her from Christmas because you're butthurt. You didn't de-escalate this situation. You threw a grenade into it. You failed to listen to her, and it sounds like you failed to protect her from your wife. You confirmed for her that she was not welcome, and you wonder why she got out of the car and hasn't come back? You're the a-hole. Your wife was and is the adult and parent, but you act as though she and your daughter are peers. They aren't. There's a power dynamic at play you've chosen to ignore, and in doing so, have enabled your wife's appalling behavior. Now that she's turning 18, she can finally be free of the nightmare. You can't punish her for her feelings. You can't try to manipulate her into staying by threatening to ice her out. She isn't like you. She isn't saying crap to elicit a response. She is telling you the truth, and you refuse to listen. She doesn't have a home. She has a nightmare of a house she can finally escape. Maybe consider why she feels that way, and reflect on how hellish it must have been to grow up being constantly attacked by her own mother, while her father stood by and let it happen. This is on you. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. You played right into the hand of a troubled teenager throwing a fit. She said she never had a home, and what did you do? Make sure she wasn't part of the family vacation. You proved her right. You were supposed to be the father, not fall for childish tricks. I have a lot of longtime friends in my life, but a couple of them are wearing on my nerves. They are married with young kids, and all they do is complain and vent about their husbands and kids. They never ask anything at all about me or how I'm doing. And if I pipe in with something about me, they ignore it and swiftly change the conversation back to themselves. Now, let it be known, their kids really are horrible brats. But this is the fault of these friends and their husbands. Also, their husbands are really worthless pieces of crap. But then again, my friends are the ones who chose to get and stay married to these people. My friends believe in catering to their kids 24/7 and never ever letting their kids be uncomfortable or upset. Predictably, that has turned their children into entitled, demanding, zero empathy, malignant narcissists who are shockingly nasty to each other, to my friends, to their teachers, and their classmates. None of these kids have any friends at all, which is another thing my friends vent and whine about. The husbands all claim to be suffering from the same form of depression that makes them unable to hold down any kind of job, do any household chores, or any childcare whatsoever, or pursue any training or education, or even drive Uber. But they have plenty of energy to stomp around the house yelling how messy it is, and how miserable they are, how they hate being at home, how they wish they had a different family. They have enough energy to watch TV all day, to complain that my friends don't show them enough attention, and to pester my friends for sex. Oh, and to go on dating sites just to make friends. I am sick of hearing venting about this, and have told my friends that they should divorce these guys. But they won't, because they are afraid the guys will go after custody to be vengeful. They definitely won't, and even if they did, they would never carry through with their custody time because they hate being around their kids at all, much less taking care of them solo. The last straw is that in spite of all of this, my friends are often condescending to me because I'm single. They will condescendingly say things like, "Don't feel bad about being single. Being married isn't the fairy tale single people think." Or, "You think being a mom is all Kodak moments, but moms have it hardest." It's hard to convey in text, but this is dripping with condescension. Lately, because I'm fed up and just about done with these friendships, I'll reply things like, "Oh wow, no. Seeing what your husband and kids are like solidified my decision to never get married or have kids." Or, "Oh no, your life is miserable. I definitely don't want that." Or someone will condescendingly say, "Never get married." And I'll reply, "I definitely won't. I'd never want to end up with someone like Anthony, her hubby." Predictably, this has made them big mad, and I know the friendship is done anyways. But am I the a-hole for responding like this? I get being petty is not a good look, but if we read this more objectively, it seems OP has been considerate and listening for years and trying to support her friends, whereas they are bitter and resentful for their situation and constantly take it out on OP by being condescending. I know people like this. I honestly say not the a-hole. They can dish it, but they can't take it, and I'm sure you have given them objective advice many times before it got to this point. Everyone sucks here. You choose your friends just like they choose their husbands. You all deserve each other. I would say find better friends, but I have a feeling you're just as self-centered as your friends. Everyone sucks here. Mostly your friends, though. If all you say is true, your friends are pathetic, to say the least. They tolerate husbands that can't offer anything to their family, and they are raising very spoiled kids that will face hard times when they become adults. The fact that they always talk about them definitely doesn't contribute towards their image. While I get that you are fed up with them, talking like that is plain and simply rude. You should either have a conversation with them, or even better, look for new friends. This is my first Christmas as a dad. My wife and I had our son 3 months ago. We spent last Christmas with my family, and it was a mess, and we had kinda decided then to drop the whole family Christmas with my side stuff. But becoming parents really helped cement this. I told my family in June that we wouldn't be celebrating Christmas with them this year, but it came up again a month ago, and now it's become a fight, because they wanted to know why, when we'd have dinner cooked for us and everything. Background. In 2019, my brother married a widow with 3 children who at the time were 5, 7, and 8 years old, and are now 8, 10, and 11 years old. My brother decided he was their dad from that point because their dad was deceased, and he started to call them his kids. My parents called them their grandkids. They would refer to my brother as the kid's dad, and my brother's wife did the same. They told the kids to call me uncle and my 2 sisters aunts. I remember it coming up that they wanted to change the kids' names and all. That first Christmas they were married were spent with his wife's family, but they ended up estranged because her parents wanted them to let the kids decide if he was dad or not. But they argued that the kids needed a dad who was alive and able to parent them. I haven't spent a ton of time with them as a family outside of last Christmas, but it was an experience. The kids were corrected for using just our first names, including using our brother's name instead of calling him Dad. My parents, brother, and sister-in-law tried to force them into grandkid photos with my 2 sisters' children. They corrected everyone who said my brother was their dad. They also yelled a couple of times that they hated us all. I tried to get my family to back off, but they ignored me. I heard from my parents afterwards that the kids have been hurtfully rejecting my brother the whole time, and even lied to their teachers about it being just them and their mom, and talking about how their dad died. I was like, what do you guys expect? If they have any kind of memory of their dad, and the older 2 would, then they're going to fight against some random dude coming in and claiming it for himself. So when the whole Christmas thing came up again, and I was asked repeatedly why, I told them because they are way too pushy and demanding with those kids, and I don't want to expose my son to that, and I don't want to watch that. They were horrified, said sometimes you have to be pushy with kids in the family, and how the cousins should each know each other. I said his stepkids already hate the other cousins, my 2 sisters' kids, and they don't need another one shoved down their throats to end up being hated through no fault of his own. They told me I was being very rude and very judgmental of them and the kids, and clearly I don't care enough to accept them into the family. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You seem to be the only reasonable adult here. I feel sorry for those kids who have not only lost their dad, but are also forced to accept a new man into their lives, who they should call dad from now on. I understand how you want to protect your own child and yourself from that negativity. Not the a-hole. You gave them plenty of notice, but they have persisted. They demanded reasons, but when you gave them, they decided they didn't like them. You have done well to establish this boundary, as they would expect you to go every year if you went once with your child. As for being pushy, it would only be a matter of time before it's your child who has to conform to their expectations. Family members can get to know each other without your parents being there. Not the a-hole OP, and you're probably going to be a wonderful father, since you're already willing to stand up for kids that aren't even yours. I, teen female, live with my stepmom and father since 7th grade, in high school now, after my mother pretty much forced me out of the house. My biological mother and I have always had a rocky relationship. She was verbally aggressive to me until I moved into my father's house. We don't have the best relationship, but we still talk from time to time. She's still kind of mean to me though. My sister, teen female, still lives with my mother and comes to visit me on the weekend. I got a job over the summer. I don't make a lot, but I wanted to get everyone nice gifts for Christmas this year. Last weekend, my sister went shopping with me as I bought gifts for everyone. I got my stepmom and dad a Keurig, which was on sale for $88, and bought coffee pods and expensive tea for them to use. It totaled to about $130. I then bought my biological mother a $30 Amazon gift card. I'm pretty good at sewing and crafting. Everyone in my family usually gets something handmade also. Think quilts, blankets, scrapbooks, homemade jam. So I made a family scrapbook for my parents also. I stopped giving my biological mother these after I spent days on sewing a tote bag and painting a Monet garden on it, only for her to complain about how she wanted a gift card and not a stupid bag. I then found it in the trash a week later. When we got home, my sister started to pester me about how I should spend more on our biological mom and that I was cruel. She then went back to our mom's house and told her that I only got her a gift card and my other set of parents got a coffee maker. My mom told the whole family, and now people are harassing me about how I was selfish and how horrible of a daughter I am. I just got these things because the whole family can use a Keurig, and I really think my dad and stepmom truly deserve it. After a week of getting nasty messages, I finally couldn't take it anymore and sent a text message to Mom explaining how deeply her actions hurt me and that I'm not over everything that happened. And I then sent screenshots of those texts to my mom's side of the family and a text message to explain why I did that and how my mother has hurt me. I know I could have done it in a kinder way, and many of my family are calling me out for being disrespectful and rude, and that I need to apologize. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. There is no such requirement how much you must spend on a person. And I would never buy her a damn thing again, especially after she threw away something you took time and effort to make for her. Please don't let anyone guilt trip you. Christmas is not about gifts anyway. Frankly, she should appreciate you even considered getting a gift for her at all, considering she threw the last one away. Not the a-hole. Seriously, screw the rest of your family. If possible, you should go no contact with that side. But if not possible, go low contact. Your bio mom should be thankful to get anything.